Hey guys, welcome back from Daytona Beach. Today I've got a review of the new 2018 Kawasaki Ninja 400. Brand new bike. I'm very excited for this because I loved the 300. It was my favorite compact starter sport bike. So this is all new. I'm excited to see if it's just more power. What the heck is this doing here? It's a little keychain dangling down there. Oh well, it's not going anywhere.
You want to duck right through this way?
Sure. I think I could just pick it up. Just about can. This thing is so light. So, of course, it's very small, very short. Very good choice for any short rider. And this thing, seriously, it's about the weight of a bicycle. It's nothing. So me standing up, I've got like, 3 inches under me. I'm 6'2", 32-inch inseam. Yeah, I'm standing up right now. Sitting down, it actually doesn't compress that much less than the 300 did. Very impressive. Dash is a little hard to read. It's black. It's reverse. It's an LCD. A lot more torque than the 300 had right off idle. Totally normal taking off. These mirrors are huge. Clutch engagement zone is very wide, very good for a new rider. Sounds a bit buzzy. I don't remember the 300 making this kind of racket, and it's from the engine, from the intake. It was only 4,000, 5,000 RPM too. Sounded like it was screaming. Redline is at 12,000 RPM. Very cool for a mid-size engine. I don't really consider a 400 that small anymore. 250, 300, anything in the threes, yeah, that's definitely small. 400, that's getting up there. It's competing with the mid-size gang. Very flickable, as to be expected. You can tell it has more power than the 300, but it doesn't feel as peaky. Very broad torque from off idle all the way through the mids. Haven't gotten it up yet. Got a gear indicator right in the center of the dash, but like I said, it's pretty hard to read. It looks like it's just in shadow. Shifting is butter smooth, as to be expected. Clutch pull is extremely light. One of the lightest I've ever felt. It's a cable, but it feels like a hydraulic with a lot of assist. I mean, I could do it with my little finger. Not exaggerating, so that's not going to put anybody off. It's got a nice little torque kick when you upshift. 300 didn't do that, that's for sure. Definitely has a little more power down low. Wouldn't be surprised if they tuned it for that. I want to say the 3 had a higher red line, and you had to wind it out. Not keen on the sound of the engine, I have to say. It's not exciting, and I can't hear the exhaust at all. All I hear is the intake and the engine. Seat is very firm. It just feels like a big plank of wood. We'll see at the end of the ride here if I've got any kind of hot spots, but right under my cheeks, man, that's all I feel is just, it feels like I'm on a solid bench. It really does. And it's not that wide under my butt. Front brake is very squishy. At least the lever action. I gotta turn off that signal. The lever just kind of squishes all the way down to the grip. Doesn't really have much of a bite at all. Just kind of fades into a slow stop. I would imagine that some better pads would really help there with the bite at least. But you can see that you can squish it all the way to the grip there, no problem. Here is on the disc, and then all this is just mush. That's more of a fault of the caliper itself. It's a single on the front, and big rubber brake lines, and a lot of them. Really not digging the dash. I cannot read the details. I can see the speedo, I can see the gear indicator, but I have to get this close in the sun here to read any of the details, like the trip odometer. Definitely winds out of power. It's not something you want to take all the way up to redline. Right about 9. It's peaking out. Let's go up into top gear here. So 50 miles an hour, 6 gear, about 4,800 RPM. Let's do a roll on. Not horrible. Let's go down into 4th. 6,000 RPM. Sounds better. I can hear the exhaust. Not too much more pickup though. Let's try 7,000 RPM here in 3rd, 45 miles an hour. That's better. That's at least streetable power. So you want to keep it up in the mid revs for the best power. Smoothness is actually pretty impressive. You can't really tell it's running. Definitely has some counterbalancers going on. I've got nothing in the grips, nothing in the pegs, nothing in the seat, nothing in my legs. That should be a song. Very smooth. Let's go up in the top. A little bit of a thump. Just engine running thump. That's all I can feel, and that's basically through the frame here. Mirrors are excellent. Big, clear sight pictures. Nice, large-sized glass. And they're way far ahead. I just see a sliver of elbow. No problem there whatsoever. It's actually pretty quiet. This little tiny windscreen is doing its job. It's throwing it right into the mid of my helmet. Not too much wind hitting me. Not too much noise. Grips are nice. Just like any basic sport bike layout. They're not clip-ons, but they are in that position. A little bit of a drop to them, and they're on the narrow side. Even though I have a very tall torso, it's extremely comfortable. It's not a very prone position. It actually feels just like my FJR as far as my back angle. But the bars are closer to me, so they're dropped down. But it's no problem. Got a little bit of a bar shake there. It's probably due to the tire choice. I would imagine they're not exactly the highest of quality. You hear the intake noise till it gets up into the high revs, and then you just hear mechanical clatter. I cannot hear a peep out of the exhaust. Absolutely nothing. All the noise is coming from right underneath me through the intake. So if you're looking for excitement, you will definitely have to be putting on a pipe, that's for sure. Falls into the corners. Very comfy. The suspension, I have to say, is excellent. Right up there with the recent KTM Duke 390 I did, where they definitely put some money into that suspension. This one is a huge upgrade from the 300. 300 wasn't terrible, but it was nothing that was impressive. This is a lot better than bikes that go for twice as much. So they definitely have some money in the suspension setup. I dig that. And I'm 250 pounds, so that's really saying something. A little hard to find neutral. From 2nd to 1st, it just goes right into 1st. It is a tiny, tiny little section. Now I can't even get it into 2nd. 1st to neutral is fine, but 2nd to neutral, pretty tough. So yeah, definitely not digging the seat. My butt's already kind of hurting. Like I said, it's solid feeling. There's no padding in the seat whatsoever. I do have a little bit of a bump behind my butt, but again, it's hard. Not exactly sportive. 1st would help there, Brian. Good job. Yeah, definitely like shifting it around 8 to 9 for the best power. It's a little tough hitting these signals just from my wrist angle. And the way I'm sitting on the bike, I have to bend my elbow out to reach it with my thumb. Just the size difference. Not too much else to talk about on the bike. It is a no-frills basic bike. Made for beginners. Made for someone that's on a budget. This is all it's got. Giving it the beans. I don't know if that guy in the Vulcan right in front of me to the left here is giving it all he's got, but I was slowly passing him if he was. Vulcan didn't strike me as a very fast bike, so I wouldn't be surprised if this is a little bit faster. And that's a 650, I believe, at least a 650 class engine. Peg position is actually pretty good. It's a combination of a sport bike and a standard. It's cramped and compact like a sport bike, but just enough where I don't have any problem downshifting. My ankle bends just fine, even in the boots. But they are mid-controls. The peg is just about directly under my hips. I've got plenty of leg room. You got no problem here. You'd have to be 6'6" or above to hit anything with your knees. Tank feels very comfy. My legs fall right into nice little cups in the tank. Not sure if it has a slipper clutch. Almost feels like it does. It's a very smooth downshift. Transmission is butter smooth. Clutch is great. This is definitely a good choice for a beginner bike, especially if you're not looking for a true prone position sport bike, but you still want a sporty ride. This is exactly what that is designed to be. I think if you spent a little bit of money, threw a pipe on this, you would have a very fun ride for not a whole lot of money. Very nice here through these little corners. Just naturally falls right over. The tires are definitely thin. You can tell that they don't quite have the substantial grip. There's just something about them. They almost have a little bit of a flex right there in the middle of the corner. Like if you go from a mountain bike to a road bike, that just something different about the feel. That's kind of the way these tires are. They might be bias ply. I'm not sure, but they feel different than larger bikes. And I didn't get that out of the Duke 390. So just tootling down the road here. Very smooth until you get up into top gear, and now I can feel the engine thumping. 5,000 RPM at 53 miles an hour in top gear. Not bad for the highway. Very good slipstream here. That's about it. It's just your basic no frills budget bike. Now, how does it compare to the 300? The 300 was definitely a more sporty feeling bike. It had a little bit more excitement, I think, just because of the way the engine revved and the way it really wanted you to ride it. This one is more of a low to mid RPM, I don't want to say cruiser, but a bike you definitely don't have to wind out. So you're able to cruise on it and just not really think about what gear you're in. And the 300 had such a better sound to it. It had a more visceral feeling. This definitely has more power, so if you're a bigger rider, I would definitely suggest this over 300. But if you're a smaller rider, where it's not going to make that much of a difference, you might want to check out some leftover 300s and save $1,000 or $2. It's definitely not a day and night performance difference. I can tell, but that's about it. The 300 is such a refined bike. It's been done for so many years. Feels exactly the same. This has excellent fit and finish. Switchgear is top notch. Like I said, it's basic. You got your brights, your signals, your horn, your stop, and kill switch. That's it. But everything looks great. Levers feel good. They're non-adjustable, which is not surprising in any kind of budget bike. But they're actually in a pretty good position for me. Got a good reach. A lot of bikes with non-adjustables, man, they are way too far for me. Not a fan of the dash, not a fan of the seat. Those are really the only two complaints I have about this. They're not deal breakers, but definitely things that need improvement, that's for sure. Love the transmission. Engine is performing just fine. Suspension is top-notch. I'm very impressed with the suspension. Full throttle. Definitely passing the 650 up there. So that's pretty cool. This would be a good choice for someone looking for a commuter bike, someone in school, going through the city. It's very narrow, should be obvious. If you're in Cali, it'd be really good for lane splitting. Again, I'd put a pipe on it just for the sound factor, let people know you're there. Very comfortable to ride. So there you go. Not bad at all for a basic budget bike. Not going to call it a sport bike because it's definitely not the sporty attribute that it looks, but if it's something you're interested in, you owe it yourself to test ride it, that's for sure. So there you go, guys. There's a 2018 Kawasaki Ninja 400. We'll see you next time.